Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay. The first Purapakshi, Siddhanti asked the question, how do you show? How do you show when you have no definition of what is Paramartha, what is reality? You only say this world is tentative, it is born of ignorance. Now they start giving different explanations. All these are, see, this is the difference between Swamiji's Prakriya and the post-Shankarite's Prakriya. They try to postulate theories, they try to give logical explanations. They think logical explanations, theories, hypotheses are Vedanta. Swamiji says Vedanta, in keeping with Shankara, Swamiji says Vedanta is just observing your experience, watching the experiences and probing into them and reaching what is the real and what is falsely taken to be Atma. So what is real, what is unreal? Here it is only watching the life's experiences. So experiences are there right in us. We only watch. Vedanta is not a is not a philosophy in the sense other philosophies are, because a philosophy needs an explanation, a logical explanation, postulation of theories, why and how and all that. Here there is no why and how. You watch what is, directly watch what is there and see what it is and what is not. What is what it is, what is not. What is what, in short. Watch the facts and see what is what. This is Vedanta. This Vedanta Prakriya Shankaracharya represents, that is somehow missed and lost due to that logical tendency of the people, of some of the scholars. So one reason which is evident reason even now we all can see is, instead of studying Upanishads directly, people first study Vyakarana, Tarka, Sankhya and Puramimamsa, then come to Vedanta. So they don't study Upanishads directly. First study Tarka, Sankhya, Puramimamsa and then come to Vedanta. So mind of the people is infused with all those other schools of philosophy. The line of thinking is conditioned by the other schools of philosophy. So when you everything they try to give an explanation through inference or through arthapatti, a postulation. Like this they keep on explaining. And because of that habit, looking for some logical explanation for everything. And that explanation each one gives in his own way. Out of them, whichever appeals to you, you take it. If it doesn't appeal, you leave it and somebody else gives you another explanation. So, explaining personally, giving various kinds of explanation, out of them choose whichever you like. When we objected to these Vyakhyanakara Vedantins, when we criticized, there were various responses. Some people told these people are fanatics, only go by Shankara and reject the post-Shankarites, Vyakhyanakaras. Some people told positively that yes, what he told is correctly, he follows Shankara, is very good, but he should include others also explanation. But how can we include others when they are deviating, they are trying to give logical explanations rather than watching and observing and observing and discriminating, discriminating the experiences. And like this, they got used to, even right now, they missed the point. What is Sachidananda Swamiji's Prakriya? Even now, in spite of so much of discussion, the basic point which I want to emphasize and repeatedly tell, I want to highlight and repeatedly tell, that Swamiji goes by directly Anubhava. Because the problem is Anubhava. Problem is not logical. Note it. The problem called Adhyasa is not a postulation, is not a logical inconsistency, is not unable to explain some logical argument. That's not the problem at all. Problem is directly your Anubhava. You start with your Anubhava. In your Anubhava, there is an alien element sitting there. That alien is mistakenly taken to be the Atma. Atma is our Anubhava. The self-existence, self-shining consciousness is our Anubhava. Self-shining Atma. The self-shining Atma is mistaken. So the mistaken notion, a wrong notion is there. So you only have to reject, isolate, separate that wrong notion from the reality. What really is, what is taken to be is. See the difference. What really is, what appears to be there. A reality is existing, and anything else is appears but doesn't exist. So Vedanta is only this much. Whole Vedanta is only just this much. And if you read Shankara Bhashya directly means without the help of commentators and without the conditioning of other schools of philosophy. Without the conditioning of other schools of philosophy and without the help of the commentators. Commentators' help can be taken some places, but not totally blindly depending upon commentators. As they say, whatever argument to say, just you are led by commentator, then you are likely to miss the Bhashya. Instead of that, go by the Bhashya, sentence of the Bhashya, where if you need a little help, then only take help of the Tikakaras. Some places, Bhashyakara is brief and just briefly touches, and he doesn't explain, he explains it elsewhere. So there you can take help of Tikakaras. But the main point that is missed here is that the Vedanta is Anubhava. Watching the Anubhava. Pay attention to Anubhava. If Anubhava is set aside and start with logic, I'm telling you, it's not Vedanta. It's not Vedanta right now. That's why you need definitely Vairagyam. You need definitely a sincere seeker of the truth. You have to be really know what I am. What is my reality? I want to be free from samsara, the suffering, karta, bhokta, jiva, bhava, time boundedness, all kinds of bondages. If you are, then Vedanta can be taught and you can learn and you can understand. If you have just an intellectual curiosity and want logical explanations, why like this, what like this, and then they keep on, if you have got a logical curiosity, intellectual curiosity and look for logical explanations for something, it's not Vedanta. I tell you, it's not Vedanta. Whoever gives. and Shankara's Vedanta particularly, means the Vedanta, the tradition of Vedanta in which Shankara came. Shankara followed certain tradition, and he himself taught and wrote in this way. Other people have deviation, where deviation is only trying to give explanations rather than watching the Anubhava. Even what is direct Anubhava, you are supposed to watch it, look at it. Instead of looking at it, they try to give an explanation logically. Put theories, hypothesis, and try to defend it, and bring lot of arguments endlessly. This is what the main deviation is. I have seen their books, I have listened to them. Many places I was not convinced, I asked them. They again try to give other explanations. But who is interested in the explanations? We are interested in directly truth of myself. What am I? What am I? What is my nature? Who am I really? Am I this suffering jiva, karta, bhokta individual, or something more than it? Am I the eternity free from all samsara, free from all suffering? If you are interested in that, then Vedanta is for you. Okay? So, what is Paramarthika Satyam when we ask? They say the world is unreal because now they try to give explanation. Who is interested in explanation? Now, since they have no definition, they say the world is unreal because it is born of ignorance, born of Mulavidya. And how do you say it is born of Mulavidya? Because that Mulavidya goes by knowledge. How do you know that it is born of your Mulavidya? Mulavidya itself is a speculated one. It is a postulated. It is a hypothesis. He says there is some kind of a postulate, some kind of a material called Mulavidya, which transforms into this world, and that is avidya. You call it avidya. Why? Because it goes by knowledge. How can you say it goes by knowledge? Because it is avidya. This explanation looks very convincing to some people. When you question them, they say you lack faith, you lack shraddha. You lack shraddha and you have no tradition. Traditional acharyas have been telling, and how can you question that? That means you are going away from tradition, you are untraditional, and you are questioning everything. This is yes, shraddha is required, and because Shruti is a pramanam and pramana needs shraddha, all that we don't deny. But shraddha doesn't mean moving away from anubhava and then have faith in those things. Shraddha doesn't mean having faith in the explanations and theories given by others. Those theories cannot be verified because theories are put up through logic. Logically built up arguments, and with the help of arguments, those ideas are built up. And those idea is not one idea. There again, regarding the idea, there are different views and many views. So which one we are supposed to believe? Even if you believe, still it is a belief alone, because it is put through certain arguments. It is brought up. It is made up through arguments. And if some arguments are not convincing to somebody else, more we will see it will come. Avidya will come more. So all these explanations are given. In between, I have to give you this my explanation, because I too have suffered, gone through all those things. So out of my experience, I share certain things. That might be useful to you. What I have gone through, the same thing I have been narrating to you. So the explanations, arguments, and the ideas made up by the arguments, and some argument is more convincing, because People think that intellectuals can study Vedanta. I am sorry, intellectuals can't study, because it is not an intellectual subject. It is an anubhava. Intellectual means an arguments and counter arguments, and people get a joy in arguing, explaining, refuting others' argument, and then you bring up another argument, others refute that argument, argument to argument, argument to counter argument, like lawyers, like advocates dispute and argue in the court. They think that it is only a matter of dispute and court and defending and offending, and ultimately whoever wins. In the lawyers, whoever is a clever lawyer, whoever can bring his arguments more cleverly, clever arguments, and cleverly present them, and if it convinces a judge, then you win the case. So the winning the case, not based upon the facts, but based upon your logical capacity, good English. In Indian courts, even now English is continuing. So if you have a good English, good argumentative skills, you will win. Very clever, very argumentative skill. So argumentative that a wrong thing you present as a right, and right you present as a wrong. Any argument you can. They think Vedanta is like that. Vedanta is like that. I put a thesis, it is like this, and other person refutes it. Now he defends it. No, this thesis is like this. It is not like that. It is not what you think. Mulavidya is neither real nor unreal, neither is existing nor non-existing. Anirvachaniya, indefinable. Indefinable doesn't mean abhava. Indefinable doesn't mean absence. Indefinable or bhavarupa doesn't mean it is presence. This is only a theory you are building up. This is only theory you are building up. Obviously. And then you challenge the person with my theory. Come on. And that person is supposed to argue and refute my theory, and you defend your theory of Anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya, there is a material which is Anirvachaniya, and it is Bhavarupa, they say. And the other person says, if a Bhavarupa, it is real. No, you are thinking Bhavarupa is equal to Bhava. You think Bhavarupa is equal to Bhava. Bhavarupa is not Bhava. Positive doesn't mean an existence. In English, if you say, it is positive, positive doesn't mean it existence. It is something similar to existence but not existent. What does it mean? Similar to existence but not existence, what does it mean? Doesn't make any sense to you? Because once you put up through some argument, some words, you bring some words and and through arguments you build up a theory. It is similar to existence, but it is not existence. It is similar to absence, but it is not absence. What does it mean? So this is called theoretically building up a hypothesis. But Vedanta doesn't say that. Directly what you find in your anubhava. What you require is directly watching capacity, not your intellectual arguing capacity. Okay? Though I have been talking, not due to my argumentative skill. I am very poor in that, I tell you. I am very poor in my argumentative skills. I tried to argue right from my childhood, even my Vedanta days. I have been trying to argue, but I could never argue with people. I always failed. I was never a good debater. I have never been a good debater even now. Even now I am not a debater. But somehow by blessing of God, blessing of Gurus, Purajanma Punya, my attention is directly an anubhava. That's what helped me, that saved me from getting lost into those argumentative Vedanta, postulating Vedanta. That brought me to Sachidanandendra Swamiji. Swamiji directly, what is the strength of Sachidananda Swamiji? Throughout his books you see them. Books means I read only Sanskrit books. Throughout his Sanskrit books, what is his strength? How does he refute some Vyakyanakara's argument, Vyakyanakara's explanation? He looks at the explanation. Does it refer to your Anubhava? If it is not, that's all, he refuted. Simple. It doesn't have any big argument because we don't need also. It is directly referred to your Anubhava. Anubhava is yourself. Right now you are. You are ever existing fact. Fact, face the fact, look at the fact. Not deviate from the fact and then go by intellect. Not intellect. Intellect is only an aid, but intellect is not the main instrument. Intellect is not the main to decide what is the truth. Intellect doesn't decide the truth. Intellect is only a help. Then what is it? It is your heart. It is you who watches. It is your Anubhava. Watching your Anubhava. That capacity to watch the fact as it is. The patience, the interest. The patience, the interest to watch the fact is Vedanta. That's what is your capacity of a Vedantic seeker. A Vedantic student, what he needs is the capacity to watch patiently, without imposing, without any prejudice. He points out, you watch. You watch. Watch in your Anubhava. He is touching every point is in your Anubhava. Pay attention to that. Patiently watch it, without any prejudice, without haste, just to watch. And the facts reveal. You watch. In watching, there are certain wrong things got mixed up. Wrong thoughts, unnecessary thoughts. The what really exists, what appears to exist but doesn't exist. That's all you watch difference between them. You can see them what is, what appears only appears but doesn't have an existence. This is what is Vedanta. Entire Vedanta is only these two things. One of my guru who would speak in Telugu only, he didn't know English. I studied from number of gurus. Would tell the same thing. Vedanta is only this much. Know what is as is, and what is not is not. That's all. What is as is, what is not is not. That's all. What is. It means it cannot be refuted, it cannot be negated. What is, how do you know what is? How do you know Brahman is? This is a very strange question. If you don't know Brahman and if you are looking for it, then it is out of your experience. If it is out of experience, then how do you know it? How can you find out? How can you decide? It is all speculation alone. Therefore, what is your experience. What is the existence is undeniable, unnegatable. What is undeniable, what is unnegatable is the fact. The fact is self-evident. We should learn to face that fact, which is undeniable, unnegatable, which is away from nobody. Nobody is away from it. Nobody can miss it. It is common, it is self-evident to all people. What is self-evident to all? That is truth. Self-evident to all, to everybody. Then only truth is self-evident. Nobody can question it, nobody can deny it. That is Vedanta. Then what can be negated is only a tentative appearance, a given standpoint, in a given angle, limited standpoint, tentative appearance, but taken wrongly as really existing. It is not really existing. It is not undeniably existing. It is not unnegatably existing. But we think that since it appears, it is undeniable and unnegatable. No, it is not. What is undeniable, unnegatable, you can easily recognize. Because what is undeniable is undeniable. What is unnegatable is unnegatable. What is self-evident is self-evident. You don't need arguments to prove what is self-evident. Do you need arguments to prove what is self-evident? Self-evident is self-evident. Undeniable is undeniable. Unnegatable is just unnegatable. So this is the simple and straight. So I spoke so much. It looks that I have used a lot of arguments, but I tell you, I'm not good at arguing. I'm not a good debater. I'm not good at arguing. It is just everybody's experience. Direct self-evidence. Okay? First they say, it is due to ignorance a material, there is a material called ignorance that has transformed into the world. How do you know? Who has seen it? No, they say because the world cannot appear without that. How? World is appearing, this much we know. I see world, that is very clear, nobody can deny. But that it is born of some material, who said it? Somebody said it. How? He says it is impossible without that. Now you are going possibility, impossibility, you are postulating. That material avidya you are postulating. You may postulate. Nobody, you have a right, you have a freedom to postulate, but we only say that's not Vedanta. If you postulate, somebody can postulate something else. Still somebody can postulate something else. Out of this number of postulations, whichever appeals to you, you can accept. Then again there is a choice, there is a variations, different people accept different things because some people may not accept. Now this goes on, becomes a matter of dispute. Then which is the truth? Truth is universal, undeniable, unnegatable, self-evident. Are we interested in truth? Or are we interested in one speculation which is more convincing to you and try to convince others with your arguments? Arguments doesn't create a truth. Arguments doesn't create a truth. Theory can be built up through arguments. A hypothesis can be built through arguments, but not a self-evident fact. If arguments are required for self-evident fact, it is not self-evident. If arguments are required for self-evident fact, it is not self-evident. If arguments are required for undeniable fact, then it is not undeniable fact. This is as simple as this. I tell you, a child can understand. Because Vedanta is simple. Shankara's Vedanta is very simple. So the next they told, how do you know that the world is mithya? You taken for granted. They are presenting that world is mithya, therefore when the world is mithya, what remains is absolute truth. See, they are trying to establish an absolute truth through some argument. Through some argument you are establishing absolute truth. Abba. See, trying to establish an absolute truth, paramarthika satyam, through argument. Now they say world is mithya. How? If it is a fact, you have to show it. They say world is mithya because the enlightened jnanis talk of it. This is a matter of belief. And it raises more questions than answers. If you say jnanis say siddha purushas are yogis, some what you say, some mystic or jnani or yogi says, and you have to believe his words, his claims, then the many problems arise. That the truth is not something which can be established on the words of somebody. On the words of somebody, if somebody says then only truth, then that's not truth. Truth has to be universally evident. And second thing is, out of the jnanis, yogis, there are many jnanis claim to be jnanis, yogis and siddhas. Jnani means siddha. Siddha means those who are established in truth. There are many people claiming to know the truth. Dvaita, Vishishta, Advaita, Advaita, oh, there are so many people. Out of them, whom do you believe to be the real Jnani? And then if you believe them, there are not one Jnanis, there are many Siddhas, and each one claims differently, and there is a contradiction between their claims. You cannot decide the truth. And if you decide, you have to believe the other person. If what other person says, it is only a belief alone, it is only indirect one. You have not seen it in your Anubhava. All these arguments we have seen in our previous classes. Okay. So this doesn't work. Then Jnani, next point he says, next point Swamiji argued, Jnani, in which state does he understand? Waking, dream and deep sleep. In which state does he understand that it is truth? In which state does he understand truth? And by staying in which state will he teach us? Does he teach others? Does he transcend all the three states? If he transcends all the three states, then Jnani is not available for us. Then if he exists in waking state, that means he has got a state. He has not understood the state to be mithya. He has not negated the state. He himself is staying in waking state. That means he is a samsari like anybody else. Then how can a person who himself lives in the waking state as a samsari can teach that waking state is mithya? Waking world is mithya. Samsara is mithya. Because he himself is a samsari. They say that no, nothing wrong. If Jnani lives like a samsari, Jnani lives like an individual and lives like a samsari like us. He has got all pain and pleasure and everything like us. He has everything like us. He has got a birth and death and pain and pleasure, everything like us. If he lives like everything else, nothing wrong, because he lives like a samsari. And he is an individual also. They say Jnani is an individual and he lives like any other samsari. Nothing wrong in it. Oh, nothing wrong? Then how can you say that he is an enlightened who transcended all samsara, all states, and he is a stateless Brahman? Brahman is a self-evident fact. How can you say that? He says he understands the truth and yet remains like a samsari, like an ordinary samsari like you and I. Like any ordinary person. Then is it not a contradiction? Siddhanti asks a question. Swamiji asks a question. Is it not a contradiction that he lives like a samsari and claims that he is beyond samsara? He is an individual and lives like a samsari. So he himself has not understood the world to be mithya. But how can he say? And he says that no, he has understood. Now, where, in which state has he understood? Does he understand in waking state? Yes, they say, yes, all jnanam can take place in waking. Swamiji did not elaborate all these points. But if you talk to them, yes, jnani, everybody, all jnanam takes place in waking state alone. Therefore, you have to be, jnani has to learn Vedanta in waking state. He has to become jnani in waking state, and later also he lives in waking state. If Jnani lives state, he undergoes the states, then how can you call him Jnani? How can you say that he is free from the states, he understood states to be mithya, if he is undergoing states? If he is undergoing states, then he is like anybody else, a samsari. Or let us say, in some other state he understands. In which state? Will he understand in deep sleep? If he understands in deep sleep, yes, he understands in his deep sleep that Brahman is the truth and then the waking world and all other world is samsara, is mithya. How? How does he understand it in deep sleep? Now, is his deep sleep different from others' deep sleep? Deep sleep is same for all, is universal. There is no difference between your deep sleep and Jnani's deep sleep. Our deep sleep and Jnani's deep. Because deep sleep itself means no perception, no thought. It is purely a thoughtless state. In thoughtlessness, can there be many thoughtless states? Can there be 2 or 3 thoughtless states? Thoughtless is thoughtless. Once you say it is beyond thought, it is a nirvishesha. Nirvishesha is beyond thought. What is beyond thought cannot have many states. Isn't it? Beyond thought is just one, universal, common to all. Therefore, if you say Jnani's deep sleep is different and Ajnani's deep sleepy state is different, therefore Jnani can understand the truth in deep sleep, that means the very explanation of deep sleep is gone wrong. Your very understanding of deep sleep totally went wrong. Because deep sleep cannot have many states, many ways. There cannot be many ways of deep sleep. Deep sleep is common, universal, and beyond thought. So the Jnani whom you say to be a Jnani can understand the truth neither in waking, nor in dream, nor in deep sleep. Then tell me, where, in which state has he understood? Which state does he understand and comes to the waking state in order to teach us? Which state does he understand? Then he may have to say that no, there is a nirvikalpa samadhi, there is a special state, and he understands in that. But such a state nobody has experienced. And if we have to understand it, then where do we go for it? We have no nirvikalpa samadhi. All states everybody has is only these three: waking, dream, and deep sleep. If you talk of another one, it becomes a personal, private state. And such a state is, nobody has it. Then if we don't have it, and if Jnani specially cultivates and develops and goes into that state, then it is unique to him alone. How can he communicate that to us? Because we don't have that state. How will he communicate? How will he communicate? Because he has got some special state. If it is a private, personal, special. So in all these kind of explanations are only escaping explanations. None of them convinces. These are all trying to explain a wrong point. First you took a wrong stand, and trying to defend the stand, you go on defending. Even with your last argument are unable to defend, because basically the whole argument is wrong. Okay, up to this we have seen yesterday. Today we have seen a small paragraph is there, 19th chapter. In fact, it is I am changing the names. So this book consists of 4 sections. I am calling them section. Earlier I called chapters. Now I am calling them sections, because section is easy. 4 sections. Out of them, the smaller ones, divisions within it are called divisions within the section, are called chapters. Swamiji numbered the chapters. Swamiji numbered the chapters. So it becomes easy for us. 19th chapter. 18 chapters we have finished. 19th chapter let us study. Turiya avasthanubhavadapina tatha. Nanu, I'll just read the statement and tell you. Jagradadi bhinnayam turiyayam anubhavantu prapanchamityatvam. Jagaret pradibodhayanti asman asmin pakshe ko dosha. Pura Pakshi takes another stand. Very, very strange stand. No, he understands Brahmatvam in Turiya state. Because the name Turiya is very attractive to people. There is no Turiya. Turiya is yourself. You yourself bear you is Turiya, that's all. There is nothing other than you. Nothing other than universal. Nothing other than undeniable, unnegatable existence. That is Turiya. But anyway, we'll come later. That real Turiya will come later. Here the Purapaksh is Turiya. Na Jagradadi bhinnayam. Nanu Jagradadi bhinnayam. He understands it in Turiya state. He understands it in Turiya state, which is different from waking, dream, and deep sleep. These 3 states are different. There is another 4th state. In fact, the name, Sanskrit name, Turiya, literally means 4th. Turiya means 4th. Chaturtha is another name for it. Chaturtha state. Turiya means 4th. So, Jagradadi Vilakshanayam Turiyayam. Other than these 3, in a 4th state he will understand. Anubhavantu prapancha mityatvam. In that turiya state, he understands Jagat is mithya and comes to us in waking state and teaches us. So clean, we have explained so nicely. Now there is no problem, we have explained well. Asmin pakshe ko dosha. Where is the defect in our stand, in our view, in our theory? No. Siddhanti replies, Sachidananda Swamiji, Ayameva doshaha yad jagaritam anubhavanta eva tan mityam udaharan. The very mistake lies here only. That he himself, he is an individual and experiences waking state. Jnani is an individual, they say. Tattvajnani is an individual, lives in a waking state, and he understands the truth in anything. When he lives in waking state, when did he transcend the waking state? He is in a waking state, he is an individual. When he is an individual, when did he understood? When did he understand? Nahi swanubhava viruddham api upadishantaha parikshakaha nirdishta pramana pradavim nirdeshtum parayanti. He is teaching against himself. He is a part of waking state, he is an individual, and he teaches that waking is mithya and individuality is mithya. You yourself, being an individual, you teach that individuality is mithya. You are talking against yourself, against your experience. So nobody can accept him. Nobody can accept his words as valid. Parikshakaha. No thinker, no philosopher can accept his words as valid when he is contradicting his own experience. Okay? As I told you, it is a small chapter. 19th chapter is a small of 2 sentences. One sentence Purvapaksha, second sentence is Siddhanti. Now coming to the real point. 20th chapter. Number 20. Chapter means Swamiji numbered them. Earlier I used to call passage. Now I call chapter. So don't get confused. So instead of calling, because chapter is a bigger, passage is a smaller one. Chapter is a bigger one. Swamiji goes for 2 to 3 pages sometimes, 4 pages. See, this is chapter. Oh, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages. So you can't call it a passage. Okay. So with 20th is also a smaller one, but this we'll discuss later. I'll just touch it and leave it. They say, the Siddhanti questioned, being an individual living in waking state, how can you call him Jnani? When he himself is living as an individual, living samsara like us, living the worldly life like us, how can you call him Jnani? And he says, nothing wrong. Purvapaksha says, Nanucha Jivan Muktanam Nissamshayamatvattvode Jatepi. See, they are Jivan Muktas, enlightened people, they have understood the Atma Tattvam, they have understood Brahman beyond doubt. Yet, they carry a trace of ignorance. Because of the trace of ignorance, they live like individual, they live like all of us, like similar to us, they live like an individual, and they have got all samsara like us. Matraya avidya samskaraha. It is an impression of avidya. Avidya samskara, a matra. Matra means a small trace. Avidya lesha they call it. A trace of avidya. Avidya lesha. Tatascha upapadyate. Samsarika pratyaya tad vyavaharanam apyanuprattihi. That he is an individual and also he lives the worldly life like us. You talk to them, they say that yes, Jnani is an individual like us and he lives all worldly things, everything like us, pain and pleasure and birth and death, everything normally like us. He only knows that they are false. But he lives all this false life, false world, false birth and death and false pain and pleasure, everything he lives like us. Tad vyavaharanam api anuruttehe. All this continues because of a trace of ignorance. Isn't it? Naitad yuktamiva. Siddhanti Swamiji refutes them. He rejects it. He says, no, this doesn't work. This cannot be. Tan mitya, sorry, one more point. One more sentence, Purvapakshis I left out. Tan mitcheti manyamaha vidvan nashraddhate. He is an individual, he lives in the waking state, yet, and that much of why does it remain? It remains with due to trace of avidya. If trace of avidya is left out, if a trace of avidya is remaining in him, then how can you call him enlightened? He says, even if there is a little avidya, a trace of avidya remains, and the world and jiva and everything, still it doesn't affect him, because he doesn't believe them. He doesn't believe them to be true. He knows that they are all false. Therefore, he is really enlightened. He says, this doesn't work, this is not right, because when a person is experiencing individuality or living in waking state, person is experiencing individuality, atmanaha samsaritvam yadi vidvasyamanaha, vyavaharamscha samsarive. He lives exactly like all of us. They say he lives like us, individuality and everything. Then jnani apisan, though he is a jnani, he lives like us, all of us. Tada kasman na shraddhati. Then how can you say that he is not believing? He is believing already. Because when he is living like us, then he is already ajnani. Prashtavyosi. So this question we must put you. Okay, I think we'll stop with this. I've already taken a little more. Bah. We'll continue in the next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.